Welcome to a lesson in understanding reflection across the x and y axis. So today we're going to focus on how do I know how to reflect across the x-axis. So first I'm going to focus reflecting across the x-axis. So what does that really mean when they ask you to reflect across the x-axis? So firstly, we know that we have the two axes on the coordinate plane. One is the x-axis and the other is the y-axis. So today we're going to focus on, firstly, the x-axis. So the x-axis is your mirror line. Imagine it to be your mirror line. So draw a line highlighting the mirror line. Imagine that this is your mirror. So when they ask you, is it reflected across the x-axis or the y-axis? So let's place an image. Let's place an image here. We're going to draw a triangle. There's our triangle. In fact, I wanted it a little more here. And I'm going to call this A, B, and C. So now they've asked me, that should be a little clearer, that's A, B, and C. And now they want me to reflect this image across the x-axis. So now you know this is my x-axis. So this image is going to be on the opposite of the x-axis. So let's try and draw that very quickly. Now remember, when you are reflecting, whatever is closest to the mirror line will be on the opposite, right? So this will now be my C prime. This will be B prime. And now I've got to go exactly the same number of units down. So I've got to go 1, 2, 3, and it should come down here. And now this will now be written as A prime. So this is how you reflect across the x-axis, right? So the image at the top, or the point at the top, will be the furthest away, right? So A and A prime, the one which is closest to the mirror line will be directly opposite. So now we're going to look at reflecting across the y-axis. So this is my y-axis. This is my x-axis. Always identify your different axes. So we're going to work across the y-axis. There's my y-axis. So my mirror is on this line. So let's quickly draw a diagram. We're going to draw one coming down. Okay, let me just erase that. I want to take it a little higher. There is my image, which is a triangle once again. So this is A, B, and C. Now they ask me to reflect it across the y-axis. I want to reflect this across the y-axis. So this is my y-axis, right? There's my y-axis here. I'm highlighting it in yellow. So this means this image is going to be flipped over this mirror line here. So what will it be? Yes, A will still be here. 1, 2 from there. So 1, 2, 3. So my A prime will be here. So this will be A prime. Remember, this little stroke on the top shows you that this is the reflected image. Now, can you see I'm 2 units away from here? So the image closest to the mirror is C. So this will be C prime, and 2 units, this will now be B prime. So let's join those up together. So A prime on the top, B prime away from the mirror line, and C is closest. So the image the point which is closest to the mirror line is immediately opposite it. The image the point which is further away will be further away. But A will obviously remain the same at the top. So this is how we reflect across the y-axis. So let's look at the next. So let's quickly look at the diagrams which have been shown here. If you look at the image, both the images, the first one is a triangle. This is reflected across the y-axis, right? You can see you have B, this is your first image, and this is your reflected image. So question that students normally ask is, how do I know which is the first image and which is the reflected image? Always look for this little sign. You have a little denotation next to the letter, right? It's a small exclamation mark, right? So you know that this is your reflected image. So I know that the blue image is reflected across the y-axis to become the yellow image. Now let's look at the reflection in the y-axis. So this is my first image. It's going from 0 to the top. So in the reflected across the x-axis, this is my x-axis. It's coming down. So in the exam or a test, if you're asked to identify across which axis is the image reflected. So you can see in the first one, it's very evident now that if you have to put your mirror, you're going to put your mirror on this side. It's the horizontal axis. So this is my x-axis. The image here, if you can see the top here, is reflected furthest away from the mirror line. Then, very cute little cats. If you have to look at, it's very easy to identify that if you have to flip this over, you will flip it across the y-axis. So this is your mirror line. Your y-axis is your mirror line. I hope this little video gives you better insight into understanding reflection across the x-axis and reflection across the y-axis. Remember, the more you learn, the easier it is to learn more. All the best to you.